I never had a very refined sense of smell. And in 1997, my father-in-law very kindly helped redo our kitchen. He didn't do it all, but he did a lot of the preliminary work. He insisted on doing it in the month of August, which is unbearably hot here in France. These are lilacs, aren't they pretty? These are little daffodils. And he used pine solvent cleaner on the walls and oil-soluble paint. And we were all poisoned in this heat wave. And I completely lost my sense of taste and smell for, I don't know how long, completely for about 6 months. And believe me, it is very hard to eat when you have absolutely no sense of smell. And I've never really fully recuperated it. My father-in-law, in fact, got sinus cancer, and it appears to be killing him. Anyway, I just went to the housing office, and I'm sorry, je l'ai piqué. Yeah, he asked me for a cigarette, and in fact, I bummed this one. Yeah. Let's see, what was I saying? Oh, darn, I've lost my train of thought. Oh, yeah, I've had some clips up here about the housing offices. How I went to one, it wasn't the right one, they gave me the wrong form. I went to the other, they gave me another form. I lost that. Well, I just went back to the correct one, which was closed Friday afternoon, but I went this afternoon when they were open, and in fact, they completely denied that they had given me another form. And they said, no, this form that the other office gave you, which is the wrong office, was the correct form. So, you'll hear something different every time you go, And I'm so nervous and tired at this point, really nervous and tired. When I got there, I was refilling out the form. I was sitting there refilling out the form and looking at all these photocopies I've assembled, and I was missing one about my husband strangling me a couple of times and beating me a couple of times on vacation last September. I mean, I had the first page of the police report, but I only had the original and not the photocopy for the second. The lady actually made me a photocopy of that, and I offered her a 10-cent piece and a Euro-cent piece, and she said no, it wasn't necessary. So I've got a little receipt that says I have properly filed my renewal. Next, I've got to deal with my U.S. tax form. It was impossibly hard to even get a U.S. tax form. They keep saying, you can file online, but it doesn't work from here in France. It does not work. And I wrote to the IRS last year, and I said, look, I try to file online, and I type in my postal code in France, and it thinks I'm in California. And I spoke to the consulate in Paris about that, the IRS office there. They said, yeah, they knew about it. And the IRS no longer automatically snail mails you a hard copy of your tax kit anymore. And at the consulate, they said, well, it's no big deal, you can just print out the form. I don't have a printer, and I don't know anybody who does. I'm alone here, So I wrote to the IRS in the United States a couple months ago, and I said, please, I need this by snail mail. I really need a hard copy of it. They never answered. So a few weeks ago, I called the Internal Revenue Service at the Paris consulate, and she started to argue with me, and I said, look, I kind of prefer to fill it out in hard copy and keep a photocopy of it and send it on April 12th, 13th, 14th, whatever, before the deadline, and pay all the extra money to do it registered mail, return receipt requested, because then I've got a hard copy. I've had computers fail on me. I've lost all my data. I know it's old-fashioned, but I really, really, really prefer to do things the old-fashioned way. In writing, lick a stamp, send it international registered mail, even though it's expensive. And she understood, actually. She said, okay, yeah, I see your point of view. So somebody there did send me the forms, but they said, oh, we don't have any of the instructions, and we've been asking for them from the IRS for a long time, and we don't have them either. So it's really not hard. I can fill out a pretty much short form and an overseas earnings exclusion form. Not that I really have any earnings recently, But what a lot of Americans don't realize when they go abroad is that you still have to fill out a U.S. tax form every year. Now, years ago, the Treasury Department started asking for me to volunteer to tell them where I bank, even over here in France. And I thought, well, I don't really want to do that. So I never did that. And in recent years, it says, well, you have to do that. But I have dual citizenship, and as a French citizen, I don't have to tell them that, you know. So they're getting quite enough out of me. I fill out the form, I send it registered mail every year, and that's it. I never owe them anything because you have to earn more than like $75,000 in order to owe anything if you live abroad. But I have had friends who just, you know, came over here abroad. They quit filling out the tax forms, and I know one who went back to the States and he got arrested when his plane landed. I don't know what the motive was or what that was all about. He wasn't a close friend. I don't know what happened to him. I also know some others who've gone back to the States and they had outstanding debts. Now, this was well in the past, so heaven knows what they're doing now. You know, they owed student loans or credit card debt. I don't know. I don't really want to get into all that personal stuff with people, but they got a big problem. Yeah. Well, okay. That's what's happening with me. Now I'm going to go to the post office and mail something to my credit card company, my former credit card company in the United States. I had a couple of Visa cards. I got completely fed up with them. Service got really bad in the past 6 months or so. They jumped my rates from about 14% to 20%. I've had Visa since 1978, and no matter what problems I've had, I've managed to always keep a perfect credit rating. So I've cut up my Visa cards as of January. It's very interesting what happened. Maybe I'll tell you about that in another clip. Bye.